Sometimes things get delayed ahead of schedule. This is Fragments of Silicon.
All right, welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. I'm your host, Adam. Joining me, as always, are Petty and Golix. Right, let's get to the news, such as it is. Golix, why don't you start us off this week?
Well, thankfully, this week has been a little bit lower key than last week, although this past weekend was a little bit frustrating because we had a surprise clear skies power outage while I was trying to upload something, and also had a couple of other things I was planning on doing that day, but everything worked out, so I only almost had a heart attack or something.
Well,
Let's see. Video game wise, still looking forward to playing Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I have my copy, but I said I'd play it with my friend, and we haven't had a chance to hang out. So hopefully that'll be this Friday. Although I may also be working on starting to work through my model kit backlog, because I said I wouldn't buy any more model kits until I built some of the ones that I had, because I have a couple of Gundam kits. And by a couple I mean like 5, that I haven't done yet, and they announced fairly recently a real grade King of Braves Gao Gaigar and a figurized standard amplified Alphamon, both of which appeal to me enough that I pre-ordered them from the friendly local gaming store. So I'll technically be keeping my promise if I build a few things between now and when they actually come out, which I think is this summer, so I have plenty of time. But
okay.
still good to get back in the habit.
I never got into Gundam, so...
Well, the real thing is that they're making a second Gao Gaigar figure of the robot that turns into a big hand and hammer for it. But that one's premium Bandai, so I have to figure out how I'm going to try and get that.
Oh.
But, yeah.
Alright. Anything else?
I think that's about all. Oh, I guess it might be news that I lost a crap ton of progress in Super Robot Wars 30 because of a surprise time limit on a mission, but...
I think that,
that's about it.
that would be the kind of thing that would get me to quit and uninstall a game.
It's not a time limit on a mission, it's a time limit... See, this one has a free mission order thing where you have a lot of missions and you can choose what order to do them in, but some of the story missions, like if you do something, you only have a certain amount of time before the next one automatically happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a pretty forgiving limit, actually, between 2 story missions. But I took time to, since I didn't know there was a limit there, to do a bunch of side missions. And unfortunately, I don't have a backup save in the middle. The only backup save I have is like an entire chapter earlier, so. Anyway, that's about all I got.
Okay. Well, Betty, you're up.
Oh, fairly quiet over here. We are going to be sending back the T-Mobile internet thing because it doesn't have enough bandwidth to stream all the things, so unfortunately we can't save like $50 a month, but them's the breaks.
Well, that might be why it was saving money, because it wasn't letting you have enough bandwidth.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get sometimes you get what you pay for.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of sucks, but I'll live on. Still waiting for my parents to get their income tax in so they can pay me back what they owe me. And other than that,
Shit,
not
I still need to do my taxes.
You might want to get on that, homie.
I was going to do them this past weekend, but like I said, there was a kind of an incident.
Right. At least you remembered now instead of, a couple weeks from now.
Mm-hmm.
And I also found some of my old Beyblade stuff floating around here, so it's like, decided to go down a rabbit hole and found out they're still making Beyblades.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of interesting. I may pick up some of them, may not, don't know yet. And yeah, just been kind of chilling. I guess next victim?
All right, that's me. Let's see. Nothing much right now, but my mother's birthday is approaching in about a week and let's say some change. So, I don't want much. Let's see, if I'm recalling correctly, she wants flowers this year. And, trying to figure out where to order from. Since it's been a long time since I got flowers for her. I'm like, I think the last place I ordered no longer is in business, but there's still some time there to figure out the details. And I guess in show news, an update on Mac. It looks like everything has been taken care of, so to speak, for the time being. So everything should be steady for this week's episode, pending any updates. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but it's still a bit on edge, let's say. Mac had to cancel a few streams to make up the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I think that's about it for my news this week. So merrily we shall roll along to the interview portion of the broadcast. And joining us this week once again is Celia of Yacht Club Games.
Hey guys, how's it going?
It goes well. How are you doing tonight?
Pretty good, pretty good. Got off work early to hang out with you guys, so it's been a good day.
Indeed. Yeah, it's been about, I think, 6 or so months since your last appearance here.
Yeah, it's been a bit. It feels like it was like a couple weeks ago. It's crazy how time, goes so quickly when things are busy.
Yes, know the feeling. At least I know the feeling. Anyway, let's see. So I suppose we should start with, the game we got on display this time, Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon. Because when we last talked about it, it was in development pre-release, and now it's out. And I suppose my first question in regards to this game is, how has the game been selling since its release?
It's been well received. We sent it out to tons of different media friends of people who appreciate games of all genres, and it got great reviews. We're beyond thankful to the community for having such an open heart with this type of hybrid genre. Since it is a roguelike puzzler, usually people don't typically put those together. So we're beyond grateful for fans and folks for opening up their hearts to it. We recently announced that we did our 1.1.2 or something like that update. I don't remember the exact number. But we just launched an update for it, which has some quality of life fixes and added a character called Random Night. It also added some new portraits to it. We'll talk about this later, like about the Hollowware, but in our Yacht Club Games presents, we also announced that we're going to be coming out with DLC for the game. I have 3 huge packs of it, so we're really excited for the community to check it all out.
Yeah. And the obvious question here is, what's going to be in these DLC packs?
Super cool things. We're currently working out what exactly, like all the finite details to it, but it's going to be really awesome. It's going to involve new bosses, relics. We're also working on a mod support on the Steam versions of the game. We're also looking into online play. So there's tons of cool things that we want to throw in there. But I guess the biggest problem for Yacht Club games is that we have a hard time putting down the creative pen. So every day, our team plus like Vine's team and all the cool folks who work along with us are writing down new cool ideas. So once we put down the pen, I'll be able to tell you. But until then, a lot of cool stuff.
I mean, I do see you mentioned a versus mode, and to elaborate on this, it's an online versus mode because I know like the PC version has remote play together, but that's not exactly the same thing as this is. If I'm understanding this correctly.
Yeah, we use the verbiage in our announcement online versus mode. So sorry about that. I'm just so excited. I think I missed that word in there.
Yeah. Uh, and is that an online versus mode for all platforms?
We haven't been able to confirm anything because we're still exploring the options.
Okay, so let's just say PC only for this at this point in time. And
Cannot confirm or deny, but sure.
PC
enough.
at least.
It
Yeah,
would be
at
super
least.
cool to have it on everything, but it's what we're able to do in like our limitations. But it would be cool, but we'll see. Who knows?
Like, and I'm guessing that given the, let's say, liquid nature of what's going to be in every DLC pack, there's not a timeline for this thing yet.
Since we're still formulating ideas, we don't have a time limit as of yet. We typically don't really announce release dates until we're pretty close to the end of the development process, and we're positive that we can be able to deliver. So, yeah, I'm not able to right now.
It's a fair enough assessment.
Mhm.
And have you explored the option of having Pocket Dungeon on more platforms?
That's actually something that we've started to look into. I can't confirm or deny any additional platforms, but we've been looking into how many, like, I guess, other places that we could get Pocket Dungeon to other people's hands.
Mm.
So we're definitely exploring anything and everything.
I mean, I would say that the obvious one would probably be mobile devices, but we'll see what develops. Like, anyway, so I suppose that's about it for Pocket Dungeon. And shifting over to the other Shovel Knight spinoff, uh, Dig.
Mhm.
Any updates in regards to Shovel Knight Dig at this moment in time?
So it's actually nearing the end of development currently. So we're so excited to have the game complete and get it into your hands. We actually, in our Yacht Club Games Presents that aired on February 1st on G4 TV, or actually February 2nd, sorry about that. February 2nd on G4 TV. Basically, we announced like a new level. We gave some names, like, it's called the Grub Pit. It's real cool. We showed off the boss of the level, which is Hive Knight. And yeah, we gave details on the game coming out eventually soon. Unfortunately, we don't have a release date as of yet, but since we're nearing the end of development, it's in reach.
That's good to hear.
Mhm. It looks really cool, by the way. I'm so excited for you guys to play it.
I think we are excited to play it. Like, we've genuinely enjoyed everything Yacht Club has done over the years. Like, and speaking of such things, I suppose it's time to get to the main event, so to speak, and that is Mina the Hollower.
Yeah.
Let's see, and there's a lot to cover here, and I suppose the first question is, what inspired the creation of Mina?
Oh man, that's a very hefty question. So, the Hollower is inspired by the Game Boy era of games. It's basically a love letter to the Game Boy. Um, two of our team members, like, let's take you like all the way back, like a few years ago when we were seeing what new internal projects we wanted to work on. Two of my colleagues, Sandy and Alec, had a similar idea of making like a Game Boy Color style game. And through creative process and everyone working out everything, that's how we started to develop, the Hollower, or as we called it at the time, Project Gothic. We took a lot of different inspirations besides just being the genre of the Game Boy era. Link's Awakening was an influence. Castlevania is an influence. Even Bloodborne is is a influence in Mina the Hollower. Then we also took like the Gothic era of literature. So, that macabre style, like Frankenstein and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So we took like a bunch of influences. We keep on joking that we got bit by the spooky bug from Spectre of Torment. So we got to make a bone chilling style game with this one.
Yeah. And now, in regards to the Game Boy Color aesthetic, this was my first question there is it just an aesthetic, or are you looking to actually recreate the exact specifications of a Game Boy Color game?
So for that, okay, it's kind of we're making it inspired by Game Boy, but at the end of the day, it's not going to be like a one-to-one Game Boy game. This can be shown in, like, for example, the screen. It's quote unquote widescreen. The original like Game Boy Color display at like 4:3 was like 160 by 144 pixels. The Hollower is 256 by 144. So it's like a 16 by 9. I know Game Boy purists, are like, we love the 4:3. But the thing is, though, is that it's inspired, and most TVs don't have that aspect ratio, so it would kind of look a little different for folks playing at home. But what we did stay faithful is that we conform to the Game Boy Color's palette restrictions. So we're limiting to only 4 colors per 8 by 8 pixel tile, and that includes black and transparency. So on that side, we're reigning true. So there's a lot of influences there, but it's all in all a visual love letter.
Yes, I think that came
Wasn't
across.
the original Game Boy wasn't even 4:3, was it? If anything, it was like 3:4.
Really?
But I forget if the Game Boy Color I think was a little wider.
I need to compare.
I
I have both of them, but I thought they were
Yeah.
4:3.
Yeah, I think they are in essence 4:3. Like, it's just the Game Boy Color resolution is very tiny. Like, I definitely remember a square, and they're both the same screen except one has color. Like,
Yeah. Resolution.
like
160 by 144. So yeah, that's pretty. It's 10:9.
yeah.
Sorry, I was
but
wrong. I thought it was taller than it was wide, and I was wrong about that. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
But it is squarer than 4:3.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. Like, yeah, it's like
It's a weird aspect ratio.
Let's write a letter. Who's the father of the Game Boy again?
yeah,
Wasn't that Yokoi?
Gunpoint Yokoi.
Who
Okay,
is
let's write him a letter. We have
He's
we have a bone
unfortunately
to pick with
unable to
him.
receive letters at his current address.
Let's get a Ouija board and write a letter.
Oh. And I suppose along those lines, have you looked into like actually making a version of Mina the Hollower for the Game Boy
It will
Color?
not be on the Game Boy Color. As cool as that would be, and one of the entrants in our Mina the Hollower art contest actually made a Game Boy Color, a faithful Game Boy Color recreation of our demo. Really cool, by the way. But with our game, like under the hood, it's probably closer to like Horizon Dawn than it is an actual Game Boy game. So though it has the aesthetic and it looks like it, um, no, it wouldn't.
If nothing else, redesigning the maps to be bigger than one screen or to be smaller to fit on one screen would be
yeah,
Very, very difficult.
yeah, things like that take a lot more in terms of resources than I think a lot of people realize.
Mhm. It
Like,
would be cool
this-
though, but yeah, no.
I mean, I'd imagine if nothing else, you might see a fan-made demake of Mina when the game eventually releases. Anyway, and what arrived you at a top-down adventure game instead of another side-scrolling action platformer, for example?
So at Yacht Club Games, we love all different types of genres of gaming, not just, platforming, side scrolling.
Mm.
I know that with the inspirations of the Game Boy, I know Alex side of things was thinking how cool it would be to have a top-down Castlevania. So that was some inspiration there. I think it just took like several aspects of different things that we like top-down adventures, and it's like, well, why don't we make our own? And the stars aligned, and it just made sense.
Makes sense. I know it's just a lot of people were surprised. Well, at a lot of aspects of Mina the Hollower when it got announced.
Mhm.
Um, you know, though I suppose that comes with the territory of Yacht Club worked on Shovel Knight for 5, 6 years.
Yep, 5 years.
Yeah.
Yay, free campaigns.
Well,
Yeah,
and
but yeah, when you say, like, with the territory of surprising, yeah, you look at, like, Shovel Knight, like, the original concept of it, like, it's surprising that someone having a character that's, a knight with a shovel with inspirations from games like Dark Souls and DuckTales and Mega Man. It's like, "Whoa, what's that?" And then moving forward, when we changed up the genre, King of Cards had a card game in it. We made a fighting game. Pocket Dungeon's literally a puzzle roguelike, a puzzler roguelike game. Like, that's bizarro as it is. So, if anything, we're staying true to theme of surprising our audience at every twist and turn.
Mhm.
it's probably that's probably good for a few reasons. Because like I said, Club had been working on one game ish, let's say, for 5 years, and
Yeah, I
breaking.
remember on some of the things when the original game come out, there was an explicit thing of not wanting to just be the Shovel Knight company forever. So,
Yeah.
congratulations on that.
Yes.
We do like having, like, of course we have like our Mina, but we do hold Shovel Knight close to our heart.
Oh
He's
yeah,
like
no,
our son.
it's not like not, it's I, there's no implication that you don't like Shovel Knight, but you want to have more than one thing.
Yeah, we have plans for many cool things eventually in the future. So it's kind of one of those things where you never know where the world will take us, but Shovel Knight will always be alongside.
I suppose while we're in this vein of questioning, I should ask, do you anticipate Shovel Knight having a cameo in Mina the Hollower?
Currently, there are no plans for them to have cameos in each other's universes. As cool
Huh.
as it would be, Shovel Knight is more medieval, and Mina is gothic, so they have a different time periods, but the spirit of adventure knows no bounds.
Mhm.
I mean, when it comes to Shovel Knight, he's certainly cameoed in enough games. Like, but
Well,
Yeah.
asterisks. Wow, that sounds really cool. It's not currently in the pipeline right now. Please stay tuned to our social media pages and website for any other info. Anyways, continue.
fair enough. Fair enough. Um, um, on the other hand, yeah, it can be a mismatch. Just see, today's announcement of Aurora from Child of Light showing up in Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Like, anyway, now in terms of Mina herself, I suppose the most salient question here is, what is a Hollower?
That's a very good question. Okay, so Hollowers is basically a cool club. Imagine like a guild or yeah, a guild. It's basically dedicated to studying Earth and its latent resources. Hollowing is actually a special technique known to the Hollowers, so they can move faster underground and explore more distance. So I would say that Mina is by far one of the most talented Hollowers at the guild.
Hmm. like elite level.
Yeah, I would say P or elite. She's a pro gamer. What can we say?
Okay, and okay, so Hollowers, the name comes from their burrowing prowess,
Mhm.
but what is it that they do? Are they bounty hunters? Are they treasure hunters? What's the occupation?
What would you like the occupation? Just kidding. It's actually it's more academic. Like they're all dedicated. They're academics dedicated to studying the Earth and its resources for the betterment of animal kind.
Okay,
Like in
and
the thing, I think it said Mina was the one who originally developed the power
Spark-
generators or whatever that have gone
Yeah,
bad now.
yeah. So the spark technology, it's very experimental, but she has a lot of hope for it. And Tenebrous Isle was actually the place that she installed all of them, and it helped bring electricity and harnessed power for the whole place.
but not
You,
without its downsides, apparently.
when things are experimental, it's kind of things are gonna happen occasionally. But the thing is, though, is that that's what makes her embark on her adventure, and she's kind of confused about it, and foul play might be not expected, but suspected. There we go. Foul play might be suspected.
Hmm. Like, so she might be dealing with some sort of antagonist.
Maybe she's not even sure what's going on there. She needs to go to the island.
Fair enough. And in terms of the Castlevania influence, aside from the gothic aesthetic, I think it's most prominent in her weapon, the sidearm here. Um, is this just a whip, or does it have more going on with it?
The Night Star is pretty cool. Uh, I don't know Night Star's lore yet, so I think we still need to write it. So let's put a pin in that one. Next interview, I probably will be able to tell you more about it. But
Right.
it's pretty sick. It's her main weapon, as opposed to like the other side items that she can equip or unequip depending on what she wants to play. Um, but yeah, it's gonna be cool. There's also influences around the map. If there's like I don't know candlesticks on the wall, you can hit them, and maybe some cool items will come out.
Uh, a Castlevania tradition, if ever there was one. Right. And I also saw from the demo a few sub weapons like an axe and
Mhm.
I think a dagger, or is it a sword?
Yeah, there's a gyro dagger. I think that's the name of it. I know all the code names for things, and so I'm having that fun transition of calling things by their official names. But then I'm like, oh wait, is it the first one or the second one? So I
Right.
think it's called the gyro dagger.
Gyro dagger and the axe.
I call it throwy axe. So I will let you know once I know the official name for that. Sorry about that.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's not even an internal name. That's just a my name.
Actually, bringing up the axe brings up a question that I had when I was looking at it,
Mhm.
which I forget. Some of the people who did demo things that I saw might have gone to this, but some games that have this perspective that have things that do go up, like that have an arcing trajectory, like the axe does. Sometimes it's uh sort of false depth. So like you can hit something that's just standing north of you with an arcing weapon. Uh, did you actually I think didn't do that and instead have a actual like depth calculation so that it won't actually hit someone who's just standing north of you. They have to actually be in the air to get hit with an arcing thing, or while you're jumping.
That's a very good question. I actually don't know off the top of my head. I could bring that up with our game, like our player director, and see what he did for that
Mhm.
exactly. Um, I am a simple fellow that just enjoys the game. I don't like actually think about the technical things behind
Mhm.
it, but I will ask and let you know separately.
Okay.
Fair enough.
And another thing I saw from the demo is the preponderance of puzzles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that statue head puzzle seemed to be a favorite. Like,
Mhm.
can you elaborate on any other sort of puzzle types that that might be explored for this game at this stage, or is that still cooking?
It's still cooking. We have a bunch of different ideas of what cool things would be really like fun and exciting for players to discover. But look at our influences, and the sky is the limit.
Hmm. Fair enough.
But there
Fair
will be
enough.
more puzzles. Yeah.
And let me see here. So I suppose we do have to address that at some point, but when this game was first announced, it came alongside a Kickstarter campaign.
Hmm.
And I know that decision was a controversial one, at least from some of the chatter I saw. Like, people were wondering why Yacht Club Games would engage in a Kickstarter campaign, for this new game, given that you are a very successful indie company with a very successful title under your belt. Like, and I suppose the question here is indeed, why did you choose to do a Kickstarter campaign for Mina the Hollower?
Okay, so I think you answered, or not answered. You asked a couple questions within your questions, so I'm going to try to address each one for you.
Fair enough.
So first off, let's go with why Kickstarter. Let's go there first.
Okay.
So with the new IP, we thought the best way to introduce it would have been to go back to our roots and form a community, just like how we did the Shovel Knight Kickstarter, and build a community and really make something great. Um, for Mina the Hollower. Um, and then tag teaming off of that, why Kickstarter? So and people say like, oh, didn't you guys make a bunch of Shovel Knight games? Like, why do you need a Kickstarter? And the thing is, though, is that we're investing in this game as well. And I realize that a lot of people don't realize how much games cost to make, even pixel art games. Games in general are expensive. Yeah, we created Shovel Knight. Our initial Kickstarter raised for that game was $311,502. And we spent millions and millions of dollars creating all the campaigns for those games to give out for free. It's expensive to have a studio, and it's kind of one of those things where having a Kickstarter in general helps take pressure off of the studio, and we're able to focus on more aspects of the game that we wouldn't have been with just our initial investment for ourselves. So it was opening up to the community, being able to invest alongside us in a campaign, not a campaign, in a game that's, just starting from its roots. So that's why we did it. And we
Ma-
plan to deliver.
I'm like, I mean, this makes sense to us, but we have a show here where we speak to game developers week in, week out, and yeah, game development is expensive and frustrating and time consuming, among other things. And I would say the Kickstarter was very successful, given that the end total was 1,239,584 out of a 311,503 goal. Yeah.
Do you guys notice that it's $1 more than the original campaign?
Neat. Like, and if someone still wishes to back Mina the Hollower, can they still do that at this
Um,
point in time?
Yeah. So if you go to minathehollower.com, it reroutes to our pledge box account. We understand there were some gripes with Kickstarter. We completely understand. The world's a very interesting place full of not so great business choices for Kickstarter or other companies. So it's kind of like if you don't want to do Kickstarter, well, there's other options. One of them is Pledgebox. And so we opened that up after the campaign. All of the tiers are open besides the director position, so like the NPC, and the other ones, or director for a day. Like those are closed, obviously, but the rest of them are open if anyone else wants to support.
Okay, fair enough.
Mhm.
And shifting away from the monetary aspect of Kickstarter for a bit, what did you do differently in terms of stretch goals? Because I'd imagine that the whole 3 additional campaigns thing is not a thing that was in the cards this time.
4 actually, and yeah, not this time around. We tried to be a little bit more realistic and expand upon game development that we were like it's like expand about ideas that we were like, oh, this would be really cool, like a fishing mini game. But currently, with what we invested for it, putting the time and the cool pizzazz that we wanted to actually do for that just didn't make sense. So we're like, well, it's fine. Why not just make it a stretch goal? So everything that we are planning on doing for the game, it's going to be real cool. It's not, 4 separate standalone campaigns, but it's going to be great, and we're really excited to develop it alongside the community.
See, that's easy for you to say now, but then you'll find out like later on that you're gonna have to spend like a year and a half on like fishing line physics, and it'll just be a complete nightmare.
Yeah,
I'm
a cool
kidding.
thing about being in marketing is I get to talk about how
Yeah.
cool it is not study fishing physics.
That is a fair enough assessment. But I suppose we should go into the fishing mini game, since that was, I believe, this campaign got all of the, or most of them.
Most
I
of
don't
them,
think
yeah.
it got the additional level or the 5 starter weapons.
Yeah, so we didn't get those, but on Pledge Box, never say never. But it's got all those things that will make the fishing game really cool. Yeah, the additional items sound really awesome. I really want a couple of them. I saw all the cool I saw like the cool like ideas that Morgan had drawn up, and I'm like, oh man, I want all of them. But oh well, a girl can dream. We'll see. We'll see. I feel like I'm such like a huge fan about our game, and it's like, oh yeah, I work for the company, but also huge fan.
I suppose that helps.
Yeah, that's what it does.
I mean, anyway, and I see the time. General release here is just like 2023.
Maybe. So the thing is, though, is that like that was a Kickstarter thing of estimated delivery because they have to put a number.
Right.
So until we
Raise your
announce
hands if you've
a
ever had a Kickstarter experience where the thing got there when it was expected to.
Yes.
none of
Do
us are
I-
raising our hands.
Right.
I'm like, I think it's. I think the much smaller, pool is, raise your hand if you never had a delay. Not saying it didn't happen, but like every game related Kickstarter I know of had at least one.
That's why we don't like to release dates. So you can avoid that.
That is a good idea. Like, and in terms of the music, who is composing this time around? Is it?
Kate Kaufman,
Uh,
he's internal. So he's a yacht club crew member.
Oh, I
So
didn't know
he
that.
works on,
Yeah.
we brought
Yeah.
him on board officially, I want to say like almost a year ago,
Oh wow.
maybe 8 months. Time flies. I have no concept. I go by release dates. So I was like, after Cyber Shadow, before Pocket Dungeon. There we go. But yeah, he's been an official part of the team. So we're really excited to work with him on Mina the Hollower. I was about to say Project Gothic, but real names, Mina the Hollower.
I mean, Project Gothic could be a real name for a game, like at some point. Like,
A little bit less catchy though.
no doubt. Like,
The code name. It's cool though.
yeah. Let's see. And in terms of platforms here, I do see that you did get the stretch goals for the Mac and Linux port.
Yes.
I'm assuming that it's safe to assume that this game is going to be on all consoles.
So I think it's safe to assume, but we haven't confirmed it as of yet. Like we don't know in the future. Nintendo could release the Switch 2, or 3 next week. We don't know. So that's why we don't want to confirm it this early in development.
Right.
But like Shovel Knight, we'd love to have Mina the Hollower in as many different platforms as possible.
Right. I mean, I suppose at the very least, the expectation is this is going to be hitting all the major consoles. Probably the biggest question mark I'd say right now, or when it gets released, is if it's going to be cross-gen or not. PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, that sort of thing.
It just all depends because, like, currently with development, people release on PlayStation 4 because it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know
Because
what's
who
gonna
has a
happen next
PlayStation
year.
5, really?
I do. Me and 3 other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but it's kind of one of those things where, like, I don't know, maybe like in a month, PlayStation will go like into turbo overdrive and release PlayStation 5s to everyone, and it'll rain down from the skies, and no one will care about that peasant PS4 anymore. So it's like literally one of those things where it's like we can't predict technology with how fast and or slow it moves. So it's best not to announce and then hurt any feelings, you know?
Yeah, and there have been plenty of Kickstarter games of the same, I won't say the same, like, exact thing, but that have somewhat of a retro feel to them,
Mhm.
that have had a thing where, like, what's relevant changes in between. So, like, they were promised to be on the Wii U, but it was turned out to not really be worth it anymore because nobody really wanted the on the Wii U anymore. Or they promised it to be on the 3DS, but the 3DS was really feeling old and not as important anymore.
I'm sure that
Yeah,
copy.
so yeah.
I'm
It's not
sure
even
this.
just finding, sorry to interrupt you, but
No,
it's
no,
not
go ahead.
it's not even just the, it doesn't feel relevant anymore. It's literally sometimes factories stop producing like cartridges. Like I cannot put Mina the Hollower on PS Vita because it is not physically possible to make new Vita games.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So it's kind of one of those things where it's not even like, the interest is there, but it's like, okay, the minimum quantity order of like how much it costs to make those is even physically possible. Like there's so many aspects to it where it's not the developers being mean. It's just literally like, we probably can't. Or we
Hmm.
probably can. Who knows? We'll see.
Okay. And so along those lines, are you looking to have a physical release of Mina the Hollower, or is it like going to be initially digital only?
So for our backers who follow the backer version of the game, of course, physical. For Are you asking for at launch or in general?
In general.
Oh yeah, we're planning for a physical, especially since we have a physical tier for our Kickstarter / pledge blocks. So we don't want to lie to anyone, so we'll have one.
That is fair enough. And I'm sure a general physical version will show up down the line. Like,
We're hoping for at launch, but I don't know. The world could, I don't know, decide that. I don't even know where my joke's going with that. The
Whoops,
goal is to try.
we have a critical silicon shortage and can no longer produce game cards.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you. Thank you. Oh no.
yeah, among other things. I mean, considering that we're, what, year 3 of a global pandemic?
Yeah, season 3. Season 3.
Right.
This where the tournament arc
But it's
begins.
really over this time, guys. Everybody should just go back to being normal and not worrying about it.
Oh god. No.
That was sarcastic and not sincere.
I
But it's
know.
understandable that some people might not be sure about that.
Yeah, no, in Los Angeles, they just lulled JK'd like the mask mandate and all that, so it's pretty fresh for me.
Right.
Keep an
And
eye on the Yankee Candle review page for people who are surprised that they can't smell their candles.
Oh my gosh, I saw that. Oh my gosh. Like, why?
God, people are dumb.
People are awesome. And when I say awesome, I agree with you. Dumb.
Wink, 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 wink.
uh, like, I suppose backtracking a bit, are you looking into releasing a physical edition of Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon?
If there is a demand for it, I would love to see it. As of right now, I don't. It's not really in the pipeline. I would love to see it because I'm like #1 Pocket Dungeon fan. Woo! But we'll see. If it ends up being in the cards, I announce things on social media. Once I get the green light from the team that something's in motion, I get to talk about it. But haven't gotten that light yet.
Okay. And Petty, do you have any questions? You've been pretty quiet.
Yeah, Petty.
No, I think I'm good.
All right. And
I've just been
Alex, do you
sitting
have
here
any?
and playing.
We know.
I have pretty much piped in when I had questions, so I think I'm good.
And I think I've exhausted my gamut of questions currently, though, given that development on this has just begun, I imagine that we'll probably have you back on the program at some point in the future to talk about Mina in more depth when, there's more to talk about, when it's
Yeah,
in existence.
it'll
Like-
be fun. I'll put it in my calendar. In a billion years. I mean, whatever. We'll see.
Well, Celia, it was wonderful talking to you once again. Always a pleasure to have you on the program. And we wish you luck and Yacht Club luck on a smooth development on Mina the Hollower. We know how that can go, and we look forward to seeing how the game develops.
Thank you so much. I really I really appreciate it. Like, thank you guys for having me on. It's always fun to talk with you.
Indeed. All right, so the game is Mina the Hollower. I believe you can still back the game. You mentioned, minathehollower.com or something?
Yep. Just go to minathehollower.com and it will route you to Pledge Box where you can back any tier you'd like. All new backings apply to the current stretch goals. So yeah.
All right, so if you wish to support the game, you can still do so. Any sort of timeline cutoff on that?
I need to review that. I was on vacation for a couple weeks. I'm just back. Yay. That's why I'm well rested. So I need to check on that and I can let you know the deadline once I make sure I have the right deadline.
Yeah, I can
Fair
probably
enough,
just put it
then.
in the description when we put out the video.
Yeah, I'll keep you in the loop.
Okay. All right. With that in mind, Petty, play us to the next segment. All right. Welcome to the topic of discussion. So this week we are talking about PlayStation Plus, or PlayStation Plus Enhanced, or whatever. Hang on, I got to look up what they're calling it now.
PlayStation Plus now enhanced more with with more online.
Not free. It sure is fucking free.
No, I went back for that.
Well, there's actually going to be like 3 tiers of this. So what's going on here is Sony is merging the PlayStation Now service that you probably forgot existed, and it's going into PlayStation Plus to create a 3-tiered subscription service. And this is Sony's answer to the Xbox Game Pass, and I guess to a certain extent the Nintendo Switch Online, because this is the addition of retro titles to the PlayStation library. Some asterisks here, some big fucking swollen asterisks here. But we'll get to that.
Is this what all the stuff about we still can't emulate the PS3 is from?
Yes.
Even though you can emulate it on PlayStation Now, but sure, okay, Sony.
I'm like, yes, because I guess we'll get into this now. They're going to have PlayStation 1, 2, 4, and 5 titles available for download. PlayStation 3 titles will be there, but they will be cloud only. That's the kerfuffle of contention here.
Somewhere in a Sarlacc pit, there's just like 72 PS3s still running to do the cloud system.
Look, I admit I cannot speak to the nature or development of PlayStation 3 emulation. But what I can speak to is the PlayStation 3's fucking goddamn architecture is really, really complicated. And
At least they didn't
bizarre.
invent their own way of doing polygons.
I'm like,
This was
look,
a
it's
Sega
about,
Saturn joke.
as far as I understand it, it's about that level. It's Saturn levels of fucking complicated. Which is apparently why we're only getting the streaming version and not, you can download this via emulate and it's emulated. Like, yeah, look, the cell was a fucking mistake.
But the
I
cell's going to
think,
take over the world. Just you wait and see.
well, I mean, that was Sony's plan, but look, the PlayStation 3 almost ended PlayStation.
Yep.
I don't care how many fucking units that thing sold. That was a fucking disaster, and it needs to be recognized as a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
It came back, but it's like, yeah, in like 2012, when nobody was fucking paying attention. It's like when the Super NES overtook the Genesis in sales. Yeah, it did that, but it didn't matter because, the next generation was looming and, Sony, ironically enough. But, to not get too much on a tangent here. Like, as far as the other bit of frustration I saw is that the PlayStation Now Plus service. The 3 tiers are going to be PS Plus Essentials, PS Plus Extra, and PS Plus Premium.
Boy, those sure sound like useful names that are not at all going to be confusing.
No, Sony probably could have workshopped this more. But regardless, the other bone of contention here is they're not going to do the day one release thing that Microsoft is doing. Because Sony is still concerned about the sale of games.
Day one release meaning that stuff won't be available on the Surface the same day that it's actually released?
Yes. And we're presumably talking like, say, God of War Ragnarok. You're probably going to have to wait for this. Or the Insomniac Marvel games. Smaller stuff, VR stuff, that might be day one. That's more likely to be day one since the stakes are less. And I did almost miss. Yeah, the PSP will be part of the download and stream package. I'm like,
cool.
You'll note there's still a system missing from that list. I'm like, Sony really, really fucking hates the Vita, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
almost like they're a little salty that they lost the 3DS.
Yeah. Well, anyway, here's what PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan's excuse for not doing the Xbox Game Pass thing. He says that doing so would such a thing would result in less investment into its studios and could lead to lower quality games. He did not elaborate on how that would work.
Yeah. I'd like to know the how on that, please.
I'm like, I'll tell you the why. They're worried that this thing is going to fail, or it's going to take away sales from the disc digital version of this game.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Microsoft has no compunctions about any of their games.
Well, yeah, ideally they want us to double dip where we still have to buy their games and pay for their subscription service.
Yeah. And also, it's not just Microsoft's games. Microsoft is paying companies to do the day one release.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, for fuck's sakes, one of those games was MLB The Show. Like, that showed up on Xbox Game Pass day one. And it's going to be extra hilarious if MLB The Show continues to show up on Xbox Game Pass day one, but not on the PlayStation Plus is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'd think it would be one of those, want to compete things.
Anyway, so I suppose getting into the gritty details of what these three tiers actually have, PS Plus Essentials is the same as the current PS Plus, which includes 2 monthly downloadable games, online multiplayer access. I do not believe that consoles got away with this.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why. It's a big reason why I moved to the PC only. Game discounts and cloud storage. Again, you have to fucking pay for cloud storage access.
Okay, cloud storage I can kind of see because they still need to pay for server space.
Or maybe I'm thinking of cloud saves, which is what.
Yeah, that cloud saves is different than cloud storage.
Sorry about that.
Saves are much smaller data than the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, this is going to say the same price: $9.99, $24.99, or $59.99 a month, 3 months, year, respectively. PS Plus Extra. This will add a collection of 400 PlayStation 4 and 5 games that can be downloaded. Some of the titles announced are Spider-Man, Spider-Man Miles Morales, God of War, Returnal, Mortal Kombat 11, Death Stranding, and more, including third-party games. More will be announced when the time is near. $14.99, $39.99, and $9.99 a month, 3 months, year. And the PlayStation Plus Premium is where the classic stuff is.
Of course.
This is where the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation Portable that can be downloaded or streamed, time-limited game trials, and PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 game streaming. This service will cost you $17.99 a month, $49.99 for 3 months, and $119.99 a year. I'm like,
Oof.
It's gonna be expensive. Yeah.
Like, yeah, unlike with Nintendo's Switch Online expansion pass, there is just about enough content there to actually justify that price.
Well, it's a question of what's going to actually be there in terms of systems.
Mm-hmm.
I think people might be assuming like it's going to be the PlayStation 1 Classics. It's on the PlayStation 3, PlayStation Portable, and PlayStation Vita.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not that, because, well, that was kind of locked into the PlayStation 3 and its and those portables ecosystem. Yeah. Like, I do admit I don't probably had to relate to the PlayStation's internal chipset, which I know at the very least the PlayStation 3 had.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good chance that the portable and the Vita had it as well. I can't confirm that.
From what I remember, PS Portable did have at least most of the chipset. That's why it could play those. And Vita, I believe, was software emulation.
Yeah. Point is, we don't know the classic libraries yet. Sony hasn't given any details on what's actually going to be there for any of them, aside from the PlayStation 4, which, yes, does actually count as a classic system now.
God, that feels terrible.
I guess maybe not old enough to be a classic. It's the last gen system.
It's a legacy system.
Yeah. whatever word you want to use. It's not the current system.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're looking at a June time frame for an initial launch. And let me see if we've got a list of countries yet. Live research and all that stuff. Don't think we. I don't think they've announced the countries quite yet. But given the prices already listed, it's going to be like the U.S., the UK, and Europe. What parts of Europe? Not exactly sure. Hang on. Let me go to like the PlayStation blog because I'm not seeing it in the news article. This is kind of important because, like, it's not going to be that that many countries. It never is when these things launch. Yeah. First, portfolios games price. Yeah, and it'll be in Japan as well.
God, I'd hope so.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I wasn't seeing the Japan listings in the actual articles. Okay. Here we go. They are going to offer a phased regional approach. So in June, they don't have any actual dates here yet. We'll begin with an initial launch in several markets in Asia, followed by North America, Europe, and then the rest of the world where PlayStation Plus is offered. These details will come at a later date. And presumably that the current PlayStation Plus option will be still available for those countries that aren't getting this at launch. Now, as far as what I actually think of this new PlayStation Plus service, it's a work in progress. Like, as a direct competitor to the Xbox Game Pass, even putting aside that the Xbox Game Pass has existed for years now and has built up a library and continues to expand and do all that stuff. I'm like, the first party game situation tells me a lot of where Sony actually thinks of this. It's a half measure. Okay. I mean, it's like I have seen that Sony is beginning to think beyond the PlayStation, and they are investing a lot in live service games. This is true, but they're not all. They're hedging their bets. Like, they are concerned that this thing isn't going to work. It's going to cost too much money. Whatever the underlying fear is, like, Sony is hedging bets. Whereas I can say Microsoft is, for better or for worse, all in on Game Pass. Now, they're like, day one, all of their games. Day one, third-party titles. And so on. And, getting back catalog titles. Like, that was a big reason why they got Bethesda. Not just future stuff, but, when Bethesda joined Xbox formally, a lot of their back catalog got permanently added to Game Pass. And presumably this is going to happen with Activision as well.
Yeah.
And Sony is not showing that kind of enthusiasm or gusto or anything. Like, it feels like, quite frankly, they're being dragged into this.
Insert comment about Japanese corporations and change, I guess.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to PlayStation, they're a lot less let's say, Japanese than they used to be. Like, I like, let's just ask Japan studio about it. Oh, right, you can't because they don't exist anymore. I know Team Asobi is still a thing, and Polyphony, but the people that the company that made the specific development team that made like Loco Roco, Ape Escape, Patapon, and so on and so forth, those people are gone.
God, I miss Ape Escape.
Anyway, and in terms of its its classic relationship versus the Nintendo Switch Online, it's got better potential, if only because Sony has lined up most of their platforms for this instead of Nintendo's overly conservative, even for them, approach. It's like they're gonna have they aim to have PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 in some fashion, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and PlayStation Portable. That's 6 platforms. The Nintendo Switch Online, even with the expansion, is only 4.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them's on loan from Sega.
Yeah.
Like, I guess it is worth noting that Nintendo did announce another 3 games for the Nintendo Switch Online just like an hour ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
are they good ones?
Dig Dug, NES.
Dig Dug. It's Dig Dug 2, which is actually a very underrated game. I actually owned this back in the day on the NES. It's a lot different than Dig Dug 1. But maybe we'll talk about the Dig Dug franchise in a few weeks. Not here. Mappy Land, which is the NES side-scrolling spin-off, and Earthworm Jim 2. Like,
that was on the Super Nintendo?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had it.
Honestly, I always thought of Earthworm Jim as a Genesis franchise.
I mean, it was but it was also on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, fuck Tenepal. You don't know who Doug Tenepal is? Be glad. He is a garbage human being who needs to go away.
Fair enough.
Earthworm Jim can still be funny on its own, though.
Well, he's not involved in the franchise, and he sold off all his rights ages ago. Like, anyway, my point is, those are the drip feed that we're getting from Nintendo these days, and they're not that frequent.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the reasons why people are lamenting the loss of the virtual consoles, because both stages, because there's no fucking Master System. TG16, Game Boy Advance, DS,
Game Boy Color, GameCube would be an interesting one.
Yes, there is a lot. It wasn't technically Virtual Console, but the Wii U did have downloadable Wii games as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly, and the Nintendo Switch has none of that. It's like, maybe Nintendo needs to fucking craft a dedicated Nintendo Switch Online retro development studio or something like that. We honestly don't know who the fuck's doing these things.
Mm-hmm.
So just in that aspect alone, the classic portion of the PlayStation Plus may just blow the Nintendo Switch Online out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it does, because somebody needs to light a fire under Nintendo's ass with this.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think that's about it for the here and now. It's like, how successful this is going to be? Mildly successful, I think, at best. I just don't feel the enthusiasm that Microsoft has for its fucking Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Once again, for better or for worse, Microsoft wants you to have Game Pass. Really, really fucking bad.
Yeah, they often literally have specials where you can get a month for $1. They want you to get Game Pass.
This is definitely feeling much more like an expansion to PlayStation Plus, but not the Game Pass killer that Sony perhaps wants it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I think that'll about do it for this conversation, and this indeed will do it for this installment of Fragments of Silicon. Right, so the week ahead, as far as I know, we are indeed slated to have a new episode of Moonhawk Studios Presents. Thankfully, Mac has kept his power on. He got that fixed as much as possible. So no imminent threat of the his entire online infrastructure dropping off in a few hours. Believe me, that was harrowing for everyone. Yeah. Anyway, so we'll be doing that, and on Friday, April 1st, we'll be having Jen Lacknick. I'm probably mispronouncing that, of Hypnotic Owl. Hypnotic Owl has been behind if nothing else, a lot of games. It's just some of them are The Wizard, Wiz Harder Edition. Everything is awful. That still amuses you. Everything is awful, but at least we have each other. The Pepper Prince Seasoning 1, if you'll recall, we did review at least what is available right now. Prime Division, The Day the Laughter Stopped, and they have a whole bunch of mini games and experimental stuff listed as well. So nothing else. There's a lot of stuff to cover on Friday, and coming up on the Sunday reviews, we will be having reviews of The Last Sunshine Rekindled, Music Racer Ultimate for the PlayStation 4, The Seven Chambers for the Nintendo Switch, and Princess Farmer. So until Friday, for some of you, and for the rest, in about 20 minutes ish, I shall wish you good gaming.